Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bengal Tiger Podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Shea Dixon. And Shea, today we're going to be talking about Bryce Underwood. We're going to be talking about the recruiting class. We're going to be talking about all that good stuff. But first, before we get into an ad read, I do want to mention everything we're going to talk about and much, much, much more is on the Bengal Tiger On3. The past 24 hours have been the most active I've seen a message board. For a lot of reasons, but it's been incredibly active. Shea has had incredible intel. The entire On3 network has had everything you need to know on the Bryce Underwood situation and everything else you're recruiting. So that is the first plug before we get into anything. Shea,
sign up for $1
yes,
and get us through these tough times.
Yes, please help us.
Let's knock out an ad read real quick and then we'll dive into it. All right, game time. Y'all know what it is. Every Friday, ahead of a game, we bring you game time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, Game Time, download it in the App Store, get online, Game Time, search it, easy to find. Create an account, redeem the code, just spell it out, ON3. That's all you need. ON3, $20 off your first purchase. And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be literally anything from plays to everything else, sporting events, basketball, football. And if you're watching on YouTube, Maddie B with
you can get some tickets.
This is skill level for a person of your age to be able to pull up the screen of Game Time while on a podcast and overlay it. Would that be about a 5? That's an average move you've got going on, Maddie B?
Yeah.
Okay. Vandy tickets, if you don't have them and you want to go, which is Saturday, 6:45 p.m. Central Time. A lot of in-zone tickets for $50. You're already getting $20 off. So that's $30.
ticket,
$23
ticket.
You're getting $20 off. Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of them will drop as well. So check it out. If you want to go out to the game or you're taking the family to the game and you're going to buy tickets out there, just get on Game Time, download it, save yourself $20 and plenty of cheap tickets. And as always, you get the seat view. You get all the protection coverage, everything that comes with Game Time, the ticketing app. Again, download Game Time, create the account, use the code ON3, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Maddie B, LSU is favored to win in that game against Vandy. But we're not here to talk the final 2 games. We're here to talk the final 2 weeks of recruiting before the early signing period in a way, and Bryce Underwood. He stole headlines. He stole headlines to the point that Adam Schefter tweeted it.
Yeah, that's how big of a
Adam
deal.
Schefter he beat Hayes to the punch by mere moments.
It feels like, it just like felt like a big moment when I looked at my phone and I saw that. And obviously it is just massive, massive news, but it's like, and you've laid it out well, and I'll give it to you, give you the floor and let you talk for a long time. But it's like, for how long it's been, for how, committed he's been since January, it hit like a rock for him, that announcement.
321 days committed, and he flips 14 days before signing day. And we're talking about Bryce Underwood, the number 1 prospect in America, number 1 quarterback, obviously, 5-star plus, meaning he's a 5-star on every service, and is currently considered to be generational, not the word that people use, but program changer, right? You bring him in, and the goal was almost in the same kind of light that a guy like Nico at Tennessee was viewed as. You come in, maybe you and Garrett Nuss Meyer are together for a year, you play a little bit, you learn, and then it's your team for 2 years, and you're probably going pro, and then you're getting drafted very high. And we never saw him take visits, any of that. About a month ago, reports surfaced, right, Maddie B, that Michigan had matched LSU's offer, and then they were willing to go well beyond that. And in the midst of that, Underwood makes his official visit. He brings all his family down. Everything seems to be going very well. But we live in this NIL world now, in all sports, but football here with top prospects. Matty B, this is, and it seems that each cycle now we're getting into some storyline with a quarterback that, NIL's involved, and this wasn't as nefarious as maybe the Rashada stuff or any of that. But the gravity of how big of a prospect he was, this was considered the gem of, what was it, the number 4 class. Now they're number 6. So look, it's a great class, obviously. And we'll talk more about that and holding on to it and the importance of it. But Underwood, I've covered this for a long time. I can't say that. And look, you weren't even born for 5 for 5 probably, but I lived for 5 for 5. I was on the floor of the Trop, which doesn't even exist anymore. I've been through multiple April Justin announcement ceremonies where her sons didn't go to LSU. I've done the Devonta Smiths and everybody else, and I've done the LSU winning all these battles with Bam over the years, and big recruiting wins or losses. Ryan Perrilloux losing on the late Joe McKnight was kind of maybe one of the more devastating moments when he came out of John Curtis and didn't pick LSU. Coming out of high school and going to USC. There's been so many storylines, but it's up there. Again, the Perrilloux and landing him and again, the late Joe McKnight were so paramount, it felt at the time, for the program. And in a way, he's not a Louisiana kid. Those guys were. In fact, he's from very far away, which made it impressive. He's from Michigan, and he was turning down the school that was 20 minutes away. He was never visiting. And then comes this push of, hey, look, they're going to keep going up in NIL, and they're going to make this big offer. And it turns out to be more than double what LSU had offered. And LSU's NIL package wasn't one to be frowned upon. It would have made him the highest player on the team before he stepped foot on campus. Michigan more than doubles that. And this was a program that had not been involved in the NIL landscape until really here recently, in the midst of 5-5 season, post Harbaugh. They had the sanction, or the investigations, I should say, all of that. And it was, we need to go make a splash. And you figured when they missed on Underwood, it was meaning the portal. Like they were going to be the team that had to go in the portal, get the best quarterback out there. Dave Portnoy was saying, I'm going to put up money for the best quarterback in the portal. And come to find out, when he flips in the 24 hours since, and I wrote about this on the Bengal Tiger, Matty B, but there were, in the past couple of days, secret visits to Michigan that LSU wasn't privy to. Obviously, he was committed to LSU. And during this time, this is how it works now. These NIL agreements are looked at by third-party attorneys and lawyers. And LSU stuff had been looked at and revised and taken as we're good to go. And in the meanwhile, at the same time, there's kind of secret visits going on. All of a sudden, now Dave Portnoy says, yep, I've been talking to the family for a while. And then it goes to Tom Brady had been talking to him for a bit, not to mention Sharon Moore and the actual staff. And I think that what caught a lot of people's attention today, Matty B, was when Champion Circle, Michigan's NIL collective, which is having a hell of a time right now, said that, put out a statement, and I'll quote, thanking Larry Ellison for being instrumental in making this happen by providing Champion Circle with invaluable guidance and financial resources. Larry Ellison, of course, co-founded Oracle, a software company, and according to Forbes today, he is worth north of $235 billion. So you ran up against the buzzsaw here, right? I mean, we've seen these in basketball here and there. Hell, Matty B, we just kind of, I don't even know if LSU fans realize it, but we're immersed in that world when LSU goes to Kansas State and knocks off not just Kansas State, but holds down and locks up a player who took a $2 million deal to leave Illinois, one of the best programs in the country, not to go pro and to go play for Jerome Tang.
Yep.
And it was like, whoa, $2 million. Like he was looking at LSU even, but it was like, that's wow. Like it better pay off. And when he's getting clamped up every night, it becomes a storyline.
Yep.
Bryce is now became the highest paid to date, at least of what we know, struck at least NIL agreement, and Michigan wins out. In the end, I believe Pete Nakos had a quote, or maybe it was Wilt Fong, either way, from the Underwood camp, that just said it was life-changing type of deal that couldn't be passed up. And look, I'm not going to shortchange. He gets to stay home. Parents are there, all of that.
Yeah.
But this one was done for LSU so far. I mean, they were moving down here, all of that. And the past month flipped it. So you have to credit the Wolverines, but at the same time, boy, what a brutal, brutal, brutal blow for LSU, because this was the heir apparent and you weren't going to have to rely on the portal anymore.
Correct. It comes at the most important position as well, which we have talked about. And
he's that dude. He's like that dude. You don't just be like, oh, good, go get another quarterback. No. He's considered the Trevor Lawrence.
He's better than DJ Lagway. He's better than Nico Iamaleava.
Bryce Youngs of the world. He's very much considered to be, coming out of high school, like, this guy's going to go to college. He's going to start a ton of games, and he's going to be a top draft pick. And there's no doubt about it.
Like, the comparisons thrown out there are incredible. So like that's what makes this so painful. And then also, you have to pivot at that point. From LSU's perspective, it's like, there's nothing more they could have done in the immediate, like big picture wise. Sure, we can talk about that, but in the immediate, it wasn't like anything they could have done, like, to really have done anything more in this recruitment in the past month. Am I wrong on that?
Or at any point? Well, I guess you could say that, and like, this is a conversation for a much longer debate.
Yeah,
but it would be longer than a mailbag. Is okay. Well, could LSU have doubled it and matched it? Okay, there's so many legs to that hypothetical one. You're talking about them publicly thanking somebody who's worth north of 235 billion. If you match, they could go up again and again and again. And then you sort of just look silly.
And they did go up because they offered 10. Remember, it was 10.5, and now it's 12, and maybe north of 12 now.
Yes, the original reports at Oregon that Michigan had matched the deal. And then it kind of, the team started, I guess, jockey. Now, at the same time, LSU is, sends off and thinks that they're good to go with what they've got going. And when they review the Michigan agreement, send it back and go through these secret visits and days prior, they had set it up to where LSU basically finds out like everyone else, and where Adam Schefter's on ESPN saying it when you're there working and are thinking, well, man, we were just talking to them this morning. Everything seemed fine. And boom, the agreement's done and the phone's ringing. And here's the Underwood saying, hey, look, it's life-changing money. So back to what I was saying. Yeah. Okay. You could do that, but then they could outbid you at the same time. Let's say you do that and he comes. You don't have the endowment of a program like Michigan, let alone people like that who are worth Forbes at the most high level type of billionaire type money.
Was it the fourth more than one person in the country or something like that?
So the reality is that, what does that do for your locker room? Will Campbell's, it's well known. Will Campbell's the highest paid player on the team right now, and he gets, I think, like $500,000 through an NIL agreement. He would have walked in the door and made 1.5. Like, that's showing real commitment to a kid who's never played here. Now, that money is poof, gone in the wind. It's not being spent. That's not going to happen for anyone else who's in this class. It was only happening for one person who really you thought could be, as you said, at the most important position. And these numbers we're saying have been confirmed. But at the same time, what does that do to a locker room if you did chase that? Because then you're making $3 million a year,
and also,
and what does then every other, not just kid on the team, but recruit in the class, transfer portal prospect, anyone be like, well, if he was getting that, I should be getting more. This is what coaches are battling at all schools as they do it, because whether it's football, basketball, any of it, the kids talk. They're going to tell each other what's going on. And look, and this isn't just a Bryce Underwood conversation. This happens at the smaller levels of who's getting what relative to, oh, I'm just not playing. What if it's, I'm like the starter and best guy, but my backup gets double what I get? Well, I think LSU has done well to kind of structure that out NFL wise, like it's, and which you're moving toward is rev share on July 1 if it's passed, which it's expected to be, but that you're already stabilized in that regard. Like it would be the understood that a quarterback makes this makes it, and that's how it's presented. Right now, we're just in a wild west of straight up NIL, which is the terminology is like influencer, basically. You're getting paid for appearances or whatever.
Cards.
Who puts a value on an appearance? If you're working the McDonald's drive-thru, is that worth $50,000 for an hour? No, but there's no real oversight right now. And again, look, this is if for any Michigan fans who are on here, they did it. And if I'm a Michigan fan right now, you went from this, like, they're not spending any money. They're transformational, not transformative, not transactional, all of that in the Harbaugh era. And now I think the boosters just stepped in and said it's time to roll. And they are. Like, Bryce Underwood isn't the only guy they're getting. They've been after Bama's commits and everybody else in the world. But we've seen this from Oregon. It's very much believed, Matty B, that Dan Lanning has an open checkbook. I mean, Phil Knight has said, do what you want to do to get
portal recruit,
and they are and they're the #1 team in the country.
Yeah.
And they went to the portal and got a great quarterback in Dylan Gabriel. Miami's known for this. They're out there competing. They got the best quarterback, one of course, in Cam Ward. Florida State, and then you get into the extremes. Florida State did this, and they went all in. They went 12-0, and then they got in the worst way shafted for not getting into the playoffs because their quarterback got hurt. What are they, 1-10? Because they put everything into it. That's what Ole Miss is doing this year, putting everything into it. Unless you're just doing that year over year, you have to step back and really manage a roster from a perspective of, we're recruiting high school guys, we're developing, and then we're going to get this many portal guys. Where our argument has been, Matty B, we've loved this high school class. Losing Underwood sucks. The real importance, we're talking next year, what can you do? What you get in the portal has to be guys who are starting and who are impacting the team, and not just guys who are bodies.
Yeah, that's what we've laid out thoroughly, and especially, I think it'll be interesting to see. I wonder how they approach the Nuss Meyer situation now, where he's evaluated by pro scouts and pro teams and whatnot. If he is going to be a second-round pick, can LSU be like, hey, here's, and can they wait for him to come back to a degree?
Yeah, I think here's the thing, and I've said it many times on the other podcasts, that Garrett Nuss Meyer's father, yes, he played quarterback and coached in college, but he has been an NFL quarterbacks coach for a long time now. And we're talking from the Cowboys with Dak to the Eagles right now with Jalen Hurts, who's arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, obviously. His dad knows that 10 games of starts ain't enough to get to the NFL and do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Experience matters, because when you get there, you might be holding a clipboard. You'd rather if you're holding a clipboard, you might as well have 20-something games played, not 12. Yeah. So we can see it on the field that Nuss needs to continue to grow. You can make every NFL throw, but at the same time, I do think that influence there, and I believe it. Truly, you have to look back to, and I don't know if you were here for the year Orgeron got fired, Brad Davis took over, and he was the interim head coach for the Texas Bowl, and they played Kansas State. They got routed. Mm-hmm. Well, in that game, John Trey Kirkland played quarterback, and he was a DB receiver. And fans were very frustrated because Nuss Meyer didn't want to play in the game because it would have burned his red shirt. And at the time, now you can play in bowl games and it doesn't burn a red shirt. That was not the rule at the time.
Yeah, it was the last year of that.
Well, it was then widely known that Nuss Meyer's dad had told him, no, I'm not letting one game of you playing take away from what could be a season. That season is next year. Think about had Nuss Meyer just played in one game that didn't really matter at all. Deuce Vaughn and them ran all over him anyways. They probably wouldn't have won. John Trey Kirkland had a hell of a time. It was memorable. It was the end of an era for O. Brad Davis was the coach. It was what it was. Now you can get a whole nother season out of Nuss Meyer. I think that was the plan all along, was if you're sitting there at LSU and never transferring, you're not just doing it for a year. You're doing it for more than one. And I think even more so that they're not in the playoffs. So he's not getting extra exposure in games there.
Yeah. So again, I think there's urgency now on getting him back and
I think he's coming back. I put that way at a low percentage, and that was well before Underwood. I thought he was coming back no matter what, but that was just me.
Okay, good. Yeah. So that's the first step forward. And then
I don't think he's leaving.
And then you move from there in terms of keeping the class together.
Well, let's stop here let's say this. I firmly believe that, and we'll do portal podcast here coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to take a portal quarterback. And I don't mean one that's going to take Nuss Meyer's job. I mean one that can actually bring competition to the room. Because call it what it is right now. Nuss Meyer has no competition. So not only if he struggles, you're not turning to anyone else, but he knows that even if he struggles, you're not turning to anyone else. He's a competitor to the ultimate degree. You put another guy in that room that can compete with him, his level is raised even more in my mind. And you want more talent. What happens if Nuss gets hurt? Well, it doesn't matter from competition to getting hurt to playing poorly to anything, a myriad of factors, or simply just taking someone and seeing compete. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying that, but in terms of they want someone to beat Nuss Meyer out.
Yeah.
They would be silly to not go get a quarterback who truly is competitive enough to push Nuss Meyer and make that room a nice, solid 2 QB room, because that's what Bryce was supposed to be, right? Like, that was what the vision was, is, okay, you're going to have a nice young quarterback. Like, maybe we'll get him in there a little bit here and there, but it's going to keep you sharp.
Yeah.
I think they need that. And the team needs that. You need better talent. So why not? There's no downside to me in them going to the portal and getting a quarterback.
Yeah. I think that, and we'll talk about that on the portal pod, but I do agree from top to bottom, they need
I'm just saying, there's 13 days till signing days. So for anyone wondering did they go get another quarterback? The better option would just be no, and just get a portal quarterback. Like, then at least that person helping you to some degree. Like, you're not getting any kid right now that would have provided the competition Bryce was going to provide.
Yeah.
So now you replace that with just go get a portal quarterback who can actually bring competition to this room. Another body who's talented. Like I said, if Nuss gets hurt, doesn't play bad, or anything,
or just develop them for a year.
Anything. He's got a couple years left. It doesn't matter. But I'd be floored if they don't do that.
There you go. You want to wrap it up? Just talking about
so the class in general. Class. Yeah, I think everyone's on DJ Pick. Okay, so look, Derek Meadows is someone who we've expected to flip for a very long time. Yeah. It was shocking that he committed in the first place. He's from Michigan, and he moved to Nevada to Vegas to play at Gorman. LSU just does. LSU's receivers are from Louisiana. They're from East Texas. We haven't seen any influx of guys from those parts of the country have any major impact here. I was surprised when he committed, and I won't be surprised at all when he decommits. Now, he may go to Michigan, he may go to Bama, may go to Notre Dame. I'd be a little surprised if he ended up at LSU. Mike Tyler, their tight end commit, their second one, J.D. LaFleur, the son of David LaFleur, former LSU tight end, first-round pick, plays at Sulphur. Very good blocking tight end, 4-star, someone they need. And he can run routes. I like him a lot. They've got him. I think Mike Tyler probably ends up flipping because he's from Columbia, South Carolina. Gamecocks are playing well. They're recruiting him pretty heavily, and it gives him the chance to stay home. But he is still committed right now. We'll see how that plays out. Everyone's watching, I think, DJ Picket, because he's right there. I mean, top 5 player in the country, number 1 corner. We know Miami and Oregon were heavily after him, and they're the 2 biggest NIL schools out there. And Corey Raymond and LSU went out. Now they're in, and they've held on since. He made a visit to Georgia, but it was by himself, not with his parents. Now Wilt Phone reports that Underwood is asked Michigan at least, hey, can we ramp up the recruitment of DJ Picket? I don't think DJ and Underwood are that close, but I could understand why he's like, hey, let's just go recruit some dudes to get here. This will be an interesting 2 weeks because Pickett isn't far off from the same. Well, Corey Raymond has a very long track record, and Pickett knew him at Florida and said, that's why I'm coming to LSU. I want to be developed like that. Same reason Cade Phillips, who's now a 5-star, said, I want to be developed. That's why he flipped from Texas. Texas is making a major move on him, but I do think LSU holds on. I'm not as close to the Pickett situation, but I do know that LSU, you would think Matty B, after what happened with Underwood, would make certain they don't miss this one, because quarterbacks like an Underwood, yeah, they can change the trajectory of a program. Pickett, specifically speaking, and Phillips and Aiden Anding, who they're going to hold on to, the number 1 corner in Louisiana out of Ruston, those guys help you out next year at a position that you actually really do struggle at right now. Like, you don't struggle at quarterback. This ain't a Nuss hater, great podcast right now. You ain't struggling at quarterback right now. You are struggling at corner, and you only have like 2 or 3 guys you can play. That's the influx of like elite young talent that can play right away, and then they stay for 3 years, and then they become draft picks. And that's what LSU's used to. That's why you bring Corey Raymond back. But you got to get it across the finish line. It's 13 more days.
Yeah, 13 more days. And like you said, with Pickett gone, I mean, everybody kind of looks at it as being like, all right, well, the money that you were going to give him.
Well, I'll already say this, and this is no surprise, right? I would venture to guess that Pickett isn't coming for free and that his deal wasn't far behind Underwood.
Correct.
So, I think LSU proved they could be competitive there, and he wants to be here. I think now that's a lot of the conversations that are happening is schools, and look, Ohio State, Bama, LSU, Georgia had a decommit. I can think of a number of others, but the schools that have been sitting in the top 5 and have put their class together and certainly allocated kind of everything that they were doing NIL wise and everything else position wise. And it's like, all right, we're done. We may have one more guy, like chasing a Jakeem Stewart type thing. The schools, Ole Miss, Nebraska, Michigan, that didn't have good classes, but have some NIL money to throw around, we're going in and saying, hey, look, rev share is coming. Let's go ahead and front load some of this. And they go ahead and, make a huge offer to Devin Harper and flip him from LSU to Ole Miss. Caleb Cunningham, Bama's 5-star receiver, flips to Ole Miss. We see Ty Haywood, their 5-star offensive tackle, maybe on the verge of flipping to Bama. We'll see. But there's been a number of other flips. I mean, I think in the past 3 days, like 6 top 100 quarterbacks flip schools. So it's been kind of a wild, wild west that we knew existed in the NIL era. But when you get close to signing day and everyone thinks rev share is coming on July 1st and then it'll get passed, and that you may not be able to do the type of spending in the same way you are right now, it's open season. And that means, hey, look, if we got money to spend, then we'll go ahead and chase the people who we still like and take a swing at guys.
Yeah, we've reached that point of, like you said, where people have started filling their class, and then these schools come in late and be like, we still have X amount of dollars and we have this position of need, and so on and so
I'd
forth.
rather be an LSU spot, because if you're going to be of the opinion, right or wrong, I don't know all of the money, but that obviously A&M and under Elko, they're not spending like Jimbo was, but that Texas, that Michigan, that Miami, that Oregon, that their endowments, that their collectives, they're all much deeper and much more well-funded, or Ole Miss, you would rather be the team that's already got your whole class put together.
Yeah.
And then you're holding on and saying, we can do a little here, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. And if you double the money and set a record-setting NIL deal and take our number 1 quarterback, it's a brutal blow. But at the same time, it's still the number 6 class. We've addressed a lot of needs. Things are in place here, and we're ready to spend in the portal. I wouldn't want to be the LSU and be ranked like 18th right now and have to be chasing guys
and overspending to go get a flip.
When you couldn't afford to.
So,
you're really trying to balance out your roster of
exactly
the
LSU
guys
has
who
to be smart,
are in order of what they should be kind of NIL valued at. is what you would think it would be, instead of a random great example. In the portal, it was widely reported that like a Simeon Barrow in the spring, when people knew, hey, there's only like 2 or 3 really good D tackles out there. And it's like, hey, I want to go for this. And every team he comes across is, you would be the highest paid player on our team. We don't even know if you'd start. Like, if you're playing one DT position and we're trying to make some competition, they're like, what does that do to our locker room? How does, and that's kind of why LSU moved on to Paez and Suggs, and both have been good for LSU. So
yeah,
money well saved right there.
Yeah. So again, I don't have too much to
It's
add.
wild. It's Wild West. They just need to hold on right now. And I think they have a heightened sense of awareness that, these teams are coming after they know, like, and you don't even hear about half of it. Like I've said on the board, more than 80% of LSU's class over the past month has had stuff thrown at them by other teams, and you fix it or you don't worry about it, and it's nothing to them, or it's something and you work on it and nobody ever hears about it. The Underwood type stuff you're going to hear about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember, heck, when I was still doing North Texas stuff and I first started, I mean, it hit the smaller schools, I think, early on. And now it feels like it's been like, oh, all right, the Michigans like are now paying 12. Like it feels like it's climbed the ladder, so to speak, to where we have now reached this point of NIL. And like you said, with ref share and stuff happening,
I think everything's cyclical. The NCAA isn't much of a governing body that's taken seriously at this stage. It appears, at least by the public and conference leaders, who sort of just continue to operate without much discretion for governing their own conference and not really worrying about what the NCAA thinks. The reality is that until this comes back around, we're going to be living in kind of a wild world where it changes a bit each year, and maybe in a few years it levels out and it becomes something that people get used to, and it's much more the rev share is what's supposed to kind of even things out, obviously, but you eliminate the pay for play aspect maybe in some regard, or lessen it, and it gets to a place that everyone's comfortable with, because we're never going to be in a spot where it is what it's supposed to be, of like, oh, if Flaugier wants to make music videos and all that, she can make money off of it. Like if you want to sell your jersey in the store gift shop, you'll get a cut of it. Like that was name, image, likeness, not masquerading it as pay, and it's pay for play. That's what it is right now. Let's just be real. And we knew, like, bag drops are all the stories from back in the day, but now it's very front facing, and I think a lot of people are kind of like, oh, this isn't the sport I love, when this stuff was kind of happening, but not to this degree, and certainly not kind of out front to where everyone knew what was going on. So teams that had a lot of money could be like, oh, that kid's up for it. Here we are.
Yeah. And it's all just coming together. LSU has lost 3 straight, and which
no, depending on when you're listening to this, that's not true. They could have been on 1-game win streak over
Vandy. There you go. We're recording this Friday night, so hopefully they get a win on Saturday. Please get a win on Saturday.
I'm rocking. I think I'm about to fire up that chat again. We may have just like a 4 straight day live chat on the Bengal Tiger message board. So for $1, sir, for $1, you can sign up and just ask questions, and then I'll jump in. Anything. Like, I stayed up till 4 a.m. last night answering questions, and then I pop back in and just go after it hard for a few hours, and then I'll pop out. So it'll be an eventful weekend. I'll keep everyone abreast of what's going on.
Shea is going, and we're going on the Bengal Tiger On3. Subscribe if you haven't already. We appreciate all y'all for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
All the support. Had to get Shea out here and talk begrudgingly so he can put a period on this for now.
Oh yeah, and anyone who's asking, they're not going to go back after Underwood. It's over with. It's all done.
It's done.
A lot of people have asked. It's over with.
A lot of people have asked that.
Turn your focus to a portal quarterback.
Yeah.
Go find one you like and hope the Tigers get them.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's it. That's all we got. Thank y'all for joining us. Leave us a comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. If you're listening on the audio side, leave us a 5-star rating and review. We really appreciate it. And subscribe to the Bengal Tiger on 3. And we'll be back after the Vanderbilt game to hopefully recap a win for LSU this weekend. So for Shea Dixon, I'm Matthew Brune. We will talk to y'all later.